Alrighty, we are recording. Welcome in and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Frogs of War podcast. We are your host. My name is Ryan Bennell. Alongside me is my co-host, Anthony North. It's been a little bit of a delay. Been, I think, about 2 weeks now since our last episode, but we're back here, back to talk some Frogs. Anthony was on vacation. I've been moving to Phoenix the past week or so, as you may notice by the difference in background, and the audio may be a little bit different for this episode. Just got internet set up, so still figuring some things out, but of course had to get some Horned Frog talk in there. We're going to start things out with some quick news hits, kind of what we've missed over the past 2 weeks while we've been gone. And then we're going to get into some future bets, and it is entertainment purpose only. We gotta cover that before we deep dive, the big asterisks. But entertainment purpose, kind of not all of it will be bets. It'll mostly be kind of like predictions for how Anthony and I seeing the college football season panning out this year. Bit of a teaser before we go into next week, as we'll get deeper dive into TCU and our TCU predictions and everything like that. And if we have time, depending on how long that takes us, we will be going into kind of some fall practice, fall camp questions, like what needs to be answered, what are our goals to come out of it, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, Anthony, what's in the news?
Yeah, I guess first, congrats on your move. I'm sure you're getting all settled in, ready to build your brand in a desert. So,
yeah, I've already had my desert experience on the drive over here. There's a 20-mile radius of the highway or span of the highway, just straight dust storm. Like there were lights flashing everywhere. And I'm like, is this normal? Does this happen a lot? It's weird.
That's great. It goes to show some people do go to the desert to, that's good. It's good.
Yeah.
We don't need to tell that whole thing with the Texas Tech fans. I think we've covered that. And that's long in the past now.
Yeah,
so we'll keep getting cacti in our mentions and all of that for, I'm sure, as long as they feel like doing that. But that's fun times with those fans.
Yeah.
I guess we've been away for a little bit, and I took off for vacation in mid-July, and I thought, all right, well, sometime while I'm off, all of college football is going to be exploded. The whole sport is going to be done, and we're going to have 2 or 3 conferences, and everybody's the whole thing is going to be shook up. That didn't happen, so
it's been a whole lot of nothing so far.
Yeah, it's a lot of talk, a lot of various mouthpieces in the national media speaking for their various favorite conferences. A lot of, hey, Pac-12 we're still really strong, even though we're only 10 and our 2 biggest brands are gone, but we're still okay. And I think probably the biggest news of that I believe is that there's request from Oregon and Washington to, if we're going to stay in this Pac-12, Pac-10 conference, you got to give us more money, a bigger cut of the pie. And the way those rumors looked, it didn't seem very attractive to like the Arizonas and Utah and Colorado. I mean, it seemed like they were getting like a third of what Oregon would be getting, and much less than they would be able to get in the Big 12. So it doesn't really make sense. So we'll see what it shakes out there. I'm sure that'll be an ever evolving roller coaster, but no news yet.
Yeah, it's just been a ton of rumors. I mean, most of them are kind of just revolving, honestly. We're in like that cycle of sports news where it's honestly repeating stories. You're getting like, oh, well, will Oregon and Washington look for the Big 12, or is the Big 10 going to target them? Like kind of just going back and forth on a lot of the main rumors so far, but nothing has happened. And I still personally think, kind of talked about this I did a little bit of like a conspiracy theory article, like looking at the most popular rumors and everything. And I really do believe, though, that Notre Dame is going to be the first domino to fall. At least I hope so, because I'm tired of them being stubborn. I'm tired of them not being in a conference. Exactly. Just make it happen. And then once that happens, so much more it opens so many more doors. So who knows? But of course, be on the lookout, because when stuff pops off, we'll be ready to talk about it. But and then we also got decent bit of recruiting news. I saw another article posted the other day as well. Cameron Cook, 4-star running back from Round Rock, is a beast. He reminds me a lot about Kyle Hicks. He's going to be a good fit for the Horned Frogs, I think. And as well as Keelan Salter, I hope I said the first name right. 3-star linebacker from Cedar Hill, number 52 linebacker in the class, which is adding to our numbers. I've seen it, the recruiting portal's been jumping around a lot. Like, although, like the top 25 class isn't necessarily set in stone, the 24/7 sports ranking has been going all over the place. TCU's kind of been down to 30, then we've been up to 14 or something around there, and then low 20s. So overall, pretty good. And last but not least, Vernon Glover Jr. From 3-star cornerback, again, out of Dickinson, Texas, the Houston area. 5'11", 170, seems to be a good fit. I love seeing the 3 stars in front of a recruit. Any stars in front of a recruit is what you like to see. So good news in that aspect. And then also some baseball news. Anthony, what do we got?
Yeah, I guess just to comment on the football stuff, I think just another 2 big-time players from the Metroplex and a third from Texas. So continuing the theme of bringing in those local guys and keeping them home with the Frogs. So encouraging to see some of these stars staying local and building this class. Yeah, I think currently 25, like you said, it jumps around because there's so much happening all the time, but still top 25 class and now up to 18 members committed in that class. So looking to a strong class into next year. So to the baseball news, the Major League Baseball draft was a week or so ago. There were 5 Horned Frogs drafted. And of those, some of them could have had the opportunity to come back. So Riley Cornelio, Marcelo Perez, and Austin Krob still had eligibility remaining, but were drafted. So I believe they have all signed their deals. The deadline, by the time you hear this, you will be either at the deadline or past. So we'll know for sure on August 1st. But I do believe they've all signed their deals. I know for sure that Perez and Cornelio did. Those are posted. The Krob deal, it's not totally clear. There's on the MLB, there's so many players in the MLB draft. So I don't envy the intern who has to update the spreadsheet that feeds their website. But Riley Cornelio, Washington Nationals, Caleb Bolden, Boston Red Sox, Marcelo Perez with the Mariners, Tommy Sacco with the Astros, and Austin Krob with the Padres all were drafted, and I'm pretty sure they're all gone, and we have seen the last of them in the purple in Fort Worth.
That's tough. See, we talked about that just not too long ago, around the regional time about who was probably going to get drafted, who might come back. We were kind of hoping to see Cornelio come back, was one of the main guys, especially because he's so young still. Sacco was going to be gone regardless, probably. Krob would be nice to see again, especially after coming back from an injury and playing the way he did in his last performance of the season. So that's tough. But, I mean, they've been busy in the transfer portal, though. Sarloos has been getting after it.
That's right. Added latest addition from the transfer portal is West Virginia outfielder Austin Davis. He's likely to jump right into a starting role where Porter Brown has entered the transfer portal himself. And so left a hole there in starting lineup in the outfield, and Davis will jump right into that spot. So I think really good to see Sarlos bringing in big-time talent, raiding the Big 12 of guys who really did a number against the Frogs. I mean, Davis was good, and then bringing in Trey Richardson from Baylor. Make yourself stronger and make your enemies weaker. So it's good to see and primed for another big season of baseball.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't all of our transfers other than the Nevada pitcher been from the Big 12 so far?
Yeah, I think there's a Cal pitcher.
Oh yeah, the Cal pitcher too. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know. It's been a bunch. It's been busy. I guess the other thing from the MLB draft that I guess wasn't noted here is one of the top high school recruits for the Frogs decided not to enter the draft. He took his name out of the draft, so will be coming to Fort Worth. And I don't have his name off the tip of my tongue right now, but he's shortstop and so we'll be able to fill in that Sacco spot, or at least compete for that spot right out of the gate. So true freshman coming in out of high school. He was like a top 150 prospect, and turned down the draft to come to the Frogs.
It always blows my mind, like just in general. This is somewhat off topic, but with the MLB draft and how, they're recruiting these like 17, 18-year-old kids, like, just to put them in their farm system and hope it works out for them. Like, I don't understand the strategy sometimes, because like if I'm a recruit, I would probably like to draft like Riley Cornelio, somebody who I've seen do well at a higher level, rather than like a stud 18-year-old. But they go in like the first and second round. These
a lot of times first overall. Yeah,
exactly. It's nuts to me. But
and yeah, you'll throw these 17, 18-year-olds and riding a bus and living in hotel rooms together with grown men who are have families and have this long careers and riding around in minor league baseball. It's a
interesting dynamic.
It's a tough world.
Yeah. But alrighty, though, that is mostly, I believe, it for the news, and also kind of just not necessarily breaking news or anything, but be on the lookout. TCU soccer season is about to get underway in a couple weeks. We're probably going to have a little bit more content on that as the season gets closer. I believe it's August 18th.
18th, Wisconsin Badgers.
Let's go. That's a big one.
Let's take them down.
All right, so without further ado, it's time to talk some college football. We've been dilly-dallying a little bit, been teasing a little bit, but I think it's about time. We're getting close. We're about a little bit under a month away from week 0 of college football. Gotta, of course, have this week 0. I don't know why they do it, but I kind of love it.
Again, you'll hear this in August, and so there will be real, actual live college football this month. So super stoked. It's coming up. It's coming up fast.
I keep seeing those memes. It's like, you turn over in bed and it's like, we are 4 Saturdays away from college football. And like the tear rolls down. It's like, yes, thank you. So it's finally here. The wait is over. Let's go and get into it. So as I said at the beginning of the episode, this is entertainment purpose only. I know a lot of these are based on actually all of these are based on gambling lines and odds. But we are not giving anybody any financial advice. This is just kind of how we see the season panning out, our picks, where we see value going forward, yada, yada, yada. You get the gist. So starting out, let's go ahead and jump into, actually, should we do conference champions first or over under win totals?
Let's hit the conference champions, and then we can get into it.
All right, sweet. So not picking every single conference, but these are the picks that I would be most confident in for this upcoming season. I am jumping on the hype train, slight bandwagon of Utah. And I know Anthony disagrees with this one already. I'm seeing it. And I'm looking forward to your Oregon hype train because I don't know why. I just got a feeling on Utah, the Utes this year, plus 250. I have it as like my lock right now. This is like my favorite pick of the board. And also a really close second would be Clemson to win the ACC at minus 120, which is just absolutely nuts because they were minus 750 last year. And for those who don't know how odds work, just a brief explanation, minus 750 would mean you have to bet $750 to win 100 in return, whereas minus 120, only $120 to win 100 in return. But again, not financial advice. It's just what the odds mean. So Clemson minus 120 is.
Yeah, I'm just going to, I'll go ahead and stop you. I'm going to go back and forth with you on some of these.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
I think you're on the right track with Utah. I like Utah. I think it's appropriate to stay away from USC in the Pac-12. I think that's the way to go. You know, not just because they typically disappoint for their hype, but they're especially hyped this season with Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams, and it's going to be a big show, and the money is pouring in on them. So that number is way inflated, which in turn allows every other team in the Pac-12 to kind of have a better number than probably what they should. So I think Utah's a fine look there. And yeah, like you said, I went with Oregon. I think the one thing that's, I guess, interesting about the Pac-12 this season, as I understand it, is they're playing their season like the schedule is the divisions like they always have been, but the actual championship game will be just the top 2 teams. So it's not like win the South and then you get to play in, or win the North and you get to play in. So it's just the top 2 teams. So it's really just win the schedule you get, and you have that chance at the title game. And I think the biggest concern for me for going with Oregon is it looks like it might be Bo Nix as the quarterback transfer from Auburn.
Yeah,
And
Bo
I'm
Nix
not
is
I'm not about that. So what I'm kind of hoping happens is he's thrown into the fire. They open the season against Georgia, and so just throw him for a slaughter against Georgia. Let him get beat up, and then throw in. I guess he's a sophomore, true sophomore, Ty Thompson. Let him take over for the rest of the season and let him dominate through their schedule. I think, yeah, I mean, their toughest games are against Georgia and BYU, and that's not conference games. So, yeah, I think just running down their schedule, their away games are against the easiest games on their schedule. They get Washington at home, they get Stanford at home, they get UCLA at home. So, and those teams are not going into Autzen and winning. I don't care who the quarterback is. So, I think Oregon has a really strong chance to have a deep run if they have any quarterback play.
Yeah, see, I mean, I don't completely disagree with Oregon. I like them for most of the reasons you just said, especially with USC kind of inflating the odds, because I think USC is like plus 200 to win the conference, which is just ridiculous. They should not be the odds-on favorite to win the Pac-12 after doing nothing for like the past 5 seasons, but I digress. So, yeah, Utah, for me, they're just kind of trending in the right direction right now over the past couple seasons. I think Oregon, it's between those two for me. Like, it's for sure between those two. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, because Utah does have to go play in Autzen at the end of the season. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw Oregon win that one, and then they match up in the championship game for round 2, kind of like we saw last season. Although I expect it to be a lot closer than that 38-7 beatdown. Yeah, but so yeah, and then Clemson. What's your ACC pick? You got one?
Yeah, I'm on Clemson. There's no reason to pick anyone else.
Exactly.
Everybody else, you're just really guessing and hoping. But Clemson is just a lot better than all the other teams in the ACC, and you know, I think everyone's down on Clemson because DJU was bad last year, and they were so terrible. But what were they, like 10-2, 9-3? I mean, like, they were terrible, but actually they were still probably one of the better teams, and
they're still a top 25 football team.
Yeah, I mean, okay, and if it's, again, it's the same thing with the quarterback. If it's the case that DJU is still not good enough, well, you've got a 5-star freshman from Westlake, Cade Klubnik. You throw in there, and he does the Trevor Lawrence thing, and they're going to be fine. They're going to win the conference. They are going to be in the playoff. Like, it's going to happen.
A lot of Clemson fans want Klubnik as the quarterback just because of DJU's struggles. Yeah. I don't even know how to say his name. It's like Uiagalelei.
Uiagalelei.
Yeah, I don't know, but he burned me last year because some of those listening might remember Ryan's Ramble podcast last year. DJ was one of my Heisman picks. I was like, this guy, because his freshman year, he looked amazing in like his 2 starts.
He had 2 starts. Beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I'm going to ride the hype train. Made me look silly. So although I'm not super confident in DJU, this is Clemson. Okay, just because they had one somewhat off season does not mean that their run is over. It doesn't mean that the Dabo Sweeney dynasty era is over. No, they're gonna be just fine, and I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if they're right back in the playoffs this season. So even like you said too, you're guessing for the other teams in the ACC. Like, who would have thought? Sure, Sam Hartman's a really good quarterback. Who would have thought Wake Forest has the year they had last year? No, you don't. And
you can't trust Miami. You definitely can't trust Florida State or Pitt or
And like
North
UNC
Carolina
has been overrated now for like the past 4 seasons because of Mac Brown and co. Well, they did have some weapons. I mean, Sam Howell, De'Ami Brown, but they didn't do anything with it. Gone. Yeah, exactly. They're all gone now. So you should stay away from UNC. This is just honestly mind-blowing that Clemson is only this. I thought they would be a lot heavier of a favorite. But going forward, my other Power 5 conference pick, and don't hate me, guys. I know this won't be a popular pick, but I'm going with Oklahoma plus 200 to win the Big 12. It makes the most sense. I don't see Texas having a chance, even though everybody's going to say they're back with Quinn Ewers. That's a conversation for literally in like 10 minutes once we get into Texas. But for now, Oklahoma State, sure. I just don't see them winning Bedlam. Don't see them winning the title game, So I got to go with Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, to get Oklahoma as they're still the favorite. They're still the betting favorite, but at plus money.
It's plus money,
I mean,
yeah.
It's again just like Clemson. It's the right thing to do. I didn't really put down a pick for the Big 12 just because I don't want to not pick TCU. So I'm just
my
stay
honest
away.
opinion though is a value pick is
okay.
TCU.
It's okay. I mean, 12-1 is okay.
Yeah, I would like us at like, I don't know, 20-1 would be
if
cooler.
it was like 18-20, I'd feel a little better about it. 12 is, I don't know. It's too unlikely to me.
I agree. I don't necessarily think so. But in terms of all the teams that are in the 4-digit range, like above 10-1, I don't know. Obviously we're a little bit biased, but yeah, didn't want to pick Oklahoma, but like you just said, seeing them at plus money is not very common. And I think they've got a great team, that Marvin Mims, Dylan Gabriel, it's going to be a nasty combination. And you got any other Power 5 conference picks?
I don't have, I think the Big Ten and the SEC are so top heavy that there's just not enough value to like take Ohio State at whatever minus 250 or whatever it is.
I think so.
And Georgia and Alabama, the way I went with it was for the SEC, and we'll talk about playoffs in a little bit and championship, but I just would say stay away from choosing who's going to win the conference championship game, because by the time you get there, it's a coin flip. Just take the winner of the game at that point if you have a bet.
The spread's not going to be more than like 4 points anyway.
Yeah.
If you're betting it. Yeah.
So go with both Georgia and Alabama to make the playoff, because I think they basically have to lose 3 times to be out of playoff contention. I mean, they can, even if Georgia loses to Oregon, are they going to lose 2 SEC games?
Probably not.
Yeah. Even if Alabama loses to Texas, which is not going to happen, but even if they did, are they going to lose 2 SEC games? No. So, I mean, even if they have 1 strong non-conference loss and 1 SEC loss and then win the conference tournament or the conference championship, then they're in the playoff. Yeah. So that's the way to go on the SEC, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, because obviously of the field, it's between Georgia and Bama. Because I agree, I passed on the odds on this one. I didn't want to bet because I think they're both minus money. Like I think it's Alabama minus 145, Georgia minus 110 or something to win the conference. So that's not worth it. I'm going to pass. Obviously my brain would tell me to pick Alabama because I think Alabama's going to win it, but that's not worth it from a betting perspective. Don't want to put a play on that. And then same with the Big Ten. I agree. Like Ohio State is just, I am very confident that Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten this year, but at minus 250, there's no point. And I think the only other value pick would be Michigan. If Michigan's going to win the game again, which very unlikely, but that's really the only other team that I think would have a chance.
Yeah, I went with the other side of the conference where if I had to choose somebody and it be any value, I went with Wisconsin just because I think there's a very highly likelihood that they win the division and are playing Ohio State in that championship game. And, I say anything can happen, but, TCU fans know about Wisconsin rolling over in the Big Ten title game against Ohio State. So I think that's the only, if they just happen to win any given Saturday, maybe that's worth the plus 1,100. But
I think actually that's a pretty smart future play because you could take, because I agree, Wisconsin's definitely going to win that. Well, not definitely, but most likely going to win that division. And, if you have that future bet at, what is it, plus 1,100, and you ride that until you get to the title game, you just hedge it. Take Ohio State money line, hedge it, and then you're a winner no matter what. I might actually do that, honestly, now that you bring that up.
I'm not giving financial advice, but it's there's some value there.
But I guess it's weird now because I'm in Arizona too, because I can literally walk down the street and go place a ticket now, which is kind of cool. I've been getting used to that. But
you're gonna take our run sheet and go. Yeah,
exactly. I'm just gonna print this out and go down to FanDuel or something and be like, all right, guys, give me all these.
Please don't.
No, I will not. No, I will be very cautious with anything I do in regards to that. But all right, let's keep it going. So I think we've gotten through all the Power 5 conferences. I only have one true play that I like in the group of 5, and that's out of the Sun Belt. I like Marshall at plus 550. They've been very consistent. I think they've had 7 to 9 wins in the past 9 seasons. And in the Sun Belt, that is good enough to get you in the title game sometimes. So it just depends because, Louisiana, that's going to be tough after, losing their head coach. And Appalachian State, they're the favorite, but they're kind of the same as Marshall. They always get 8-9 wins. So I like Marshall at plus 550 for that.
Yeah, I'm scared of Marshall. Their quarterback transferred to Virginia Tech, and so they're starting over a little bit there, and they have a pretty tough schedule. They get a lot of it at home, but their division of the Sun Belt is much more difficult, having Coastal Carolina and App State in their division. So they end up playing a much tougher schedule.
Yeah, I considered Coastal too because they're plus 500, but they haven't looked the same since that magical year,
And they lost a lot of talent too. I mean, they likely, and a lot of that offense is gone. So yeah, my Sun Belt pick was Louisiana Raging Cajuns at plus 350, just because I think it's very likely again that they're in that title game and have an opportunity to take down App or Marshall or Coastal or whomever, and get that win. Even with their 2-star running backs are gone. One at TCU, their coach is gone. So, yeah, there's a lot of turnover, but there's still a very talented team relative to the rest of that conference.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't dislike Louisiana either. I'm riding with the We Are Marshall, baby. Got to do it for the movie.
Yeah, I went ahead and did give picks on some of the other conferences. So one of my favorites out of the American, Houston at plus 250. I think I love Houston this season. I really wish Alton McCaskill, their superstar running back, wasn't injured. He tore his ACL and is going to be out most of the season. But they still have a star at receiver, a star at quarterback, in Nathaniel Dale and Clayton Tune. So they're with that Holgerson offense, I think they're going to put up a lot of points. They've got talented enough defense. They've got a pretty straightforward schedule. I don't think they have to play Cincinnati in the regular season. So I think they're primed for a big season and maybe a breakout season to take down maybe that G5 New Year's 6 spot.
I'd love to see that too. Yeah, especially with them
headed into the Big 12, over. Right?
Yeah, that'd be great too. Do you think though that Cincinnati's going to be dethroned of that role now without Desmond Ridder at the helm?
Yeah, I mean they lost. Talk about losing talent. I mean their starting quarterback, running back, the first round pick cornerback. So
Sauce Gardner.
It's so much talent to replace that. Yeah, I mean they've got pretty good people to backfill. I think if it's Evan Prater was a 4-star quarterback recruit, he's probably could step into that role. I think they have a transfer quarterback coming in as well, so they'll be able to backfill, but you just can't backfill that much. I think it's the kind of thing where they will still be really good, but just not quite good enough to take all of that down. I kind of think of it like the the 2011 TCU team. After the 2010 team wins the Rose Bowl, you come back, you still are loaded, but you lose Andy Dalton, you lose a lot of that core, and you're still really good, still right on the brink, but like just can't get that win at Baylor. And then SMU comes in and beats you. So like games that you probably win if you're still at the peak of your powers, but they're just one tiny notch down.
Yeah, no, I can see that too. Like part of the reason that I kind of stayed away is because I did consider that, because I do like Houston this year as well. Is really just because I'm scared of Luke Fickell.
Yeah,
that guy scares me. So he's a hell of a coach. But also, you're right. I'm excited to see the Holgorsen offense, and I'm excited to see it back in the Big 12 too. That's what I'm looking forward to. I love seeing that hairdo on the sidelines. Or if it's even called a hairdo.
It's fun times. Yeah, it's a hair placement. It's
something. But all right, and then any other five bets?
Just my last couple. I mean, I hit Toledo plus 400 in the MAC. That's really a dart throw. I think they've brought in a transfer running back from Maryland that fills a role really well, and but who knows? That'll be some fun action. Just see what happens there. It's always kind of a toss up.
Some Tuesday night action.
And then my really deep value, kind of throwing a lottery ticket out there. Mountain West, Colorado State at plus 3,000. So they're way down the list in the Mountain West, but bring in new coach Norvell from Nevada and bringing in a lot of star players with him. Flashy offense. I think they're going to be a really fun team. Do they get past the big shots in the Mountain West? Can they get past San Diego State and Boise? And Fresno returns a lot of talent too. Probably not. I mean, it's probably
Fresno and Boise are pretty even favorites. It's like Boise
and I mean Fresno is also just, they're really exciting to be able to keep their quarterback and wide receiver superstar duo there. But it's fun to take a deep underdog, and it would be Colorado State for me.
Yeah, no, I like that actually a lot. Once I saw you put that on there, I was like, oh man, I should have done that too, because I like it. And a lot of value in terms of. Last year I had a decent amount of success on some CSU spreads. But alrighty. Let's go ahead now and get into some over-under win totals. So for those unfamiliar, if you hear us say under 7.5 or over 9.5, then that is quite literally how many wins we are predicting this team to end the season with. So I'll start out, and one of my favorite ones.
Just to clarify, that's not including any conference championship game or bowl game. Yes. So it's just pure regular season, what's already scheduled on the schedule.
Yeah, out of the 12 games, how many wins are they going to get? Yeah, so starting out for me is, I already kind of ragdolled them a little bit, is give me UNC under 7.5. They have been incredibly disappointing almost every season. I think they've hit the under on their win total in 4 of the past 5 years, or 3 of the past 4, one of the two. They've lost a lot of their talent, like we just mentioned. Howell's gone, Brown's gone, Williams is gone for a while now.
Ty Chandler, their starting running back from last season, gone.
Yeah. So they're losing a lot of talent, and although I'm not super high on the ACC, I don't see them getting to 8-4, honestly. So give me under 7.5. What about you? What do you got?
Yeah, I'll keep an ACC. I talked about Clemson already, but I've got them going over here, over 10.5. You're telling me they're going to lose 2 games to go under this? I don't.
To who?
So. Yeah.
Who are they going to lose to?
There's not on the schedule 2 losses, I don't think. So I think you got to pay a juice on this. It's probably like minus 140 or something to take the over. But let's see. I'm looking at their schedule right here, and I mean,
Furman, Louisiana Tech.
Is Wake Forest a losable game? Maybe. Is NC State a losable game? Maybe. Not really. Florida State? Maybe. Not really. I mean,
not
sure,
really.
they could lose one of Notre Dame or Miami. They get Miami at home, though.
I think
They're
Notre
not
Dame
losing both of those. They're not
Yeah,
going
I
to
was
lose
going
both
to
of those
say
games. So
Notre
it's an
Dame's the
easy
most
over
likely
for me.
upset spot, probably.
Yeah.
But no, I like that pick as well. And I'm going to bounce over now to the Pac-12 because I have to ride with my conference champion pick. And I'm taking, even if Utah doesn't end up winning the conference, I love Utah over 9 wins. And one of the main reasons is because of that glorious even number. There's no half. There's a push opportunity. And, sometimes a push is a win. And for those that don't know push, that literally means like a tie. If they end up going 9-3 and I pick Utah over 9,
you get your money back.
Yeah, nothing happened basically. So a lot less stressful than if it was a 9.5 and they had to get to 10. So I like that a lot. I think 9-3 should be the floor for them. But I could most likely see a 10-2 year for them.
Yeah, I'll go with another that's stuck at the number 9, a nice round number there. And I know I kind of talked down a little bit on Cincinnati, but I still think over 9 that's too low.
Yeah, I like that too a lot.
In order for them to go under, again, they have to lose 4 games. Cincinnati is not losing 4 games on their schedule. I mean, even if you go ahead and give them Arkansas and Indiana as losses, that means they have to lose another 2 from the American. And
I would be
even with their
shocked if they
schedule,
lost to Indiana.
Right, exactly. They will probably. I mean, they'll be competitive with Arkansas. That's probably a toss-up game. But even if they lose that one, yeah, are they going to lose to Indiana? Almost certainly not. But even if you give those 2, there's nothing on their AAC schedule that, I mean, maybe at SMU, at UCF. That's a tough game. But I mean, they're not going to lose both of those.
Do they play Houston?
They don't play Houston.
Okay, yeah. So I'm probably tailing that one actually. Since the over, I like that a lot. Next up on mine, I got a few actually out of the Big 12. So I'll just breeze through this one. Oklahoma over 9.5, pretty self-explanatory. I have them winning the conference. They have not had more than 2 losses in a season since I think 2015, 2014. So yeah, I'll take those odds any day. Oklahoma, they win football games. That's what they do. They're a good program. Followed up by Texas, who I wanted to talk a little bit more about because I'm going with Texas under 8.5. When was the last time Texas won 9 games in a season?
That should
2012,
right?
I'm pretty sure, right?
That Sam Ehlinger "We're Back" season, right?
I think they only won 8 that year.
No way.
Let me look it up. Football record by the year. I gotta double check. I looked at this too before we started, but okay, no, I'm wrong. I am wrong. They had 9 wins that year. They got their win in the bowl game. Okay, yes. But still, they have had over 8 wins once since their national title run. No, wait. Yeah, okay. Yeah, once. Twice since their national title run in 2009, 2010. That's it. And 1 10-win season. So you're telling me the odds makers are putting that at 8.5? They do this every single year. It's just free. It's like printing money.
I'm surprised it's not higher, actually. I mean, the hype is so huge.
Exactly, you're right.
It being this low actually kind of makes me more confident in your under there, just because like the odds makers know that probably the right number is 7.5. And I mean, yeah, they play Alabama on their schedule. In the non-conference. So it's not like they're getting any gimmies outside of the Big 12 either. So yes, they have Bijan Robinson and Quinn Ewers and Xavier Worthy and all of that, all of those stars, all of that recruiting talent, all of that likely NFL talent. Can Sark produce the wins out of it? I don't know.
That's been the story for Texas for the past decade is, they got this guy. They got this 5-star recruit. This guy's a guaranteed NFL player. And they don't win. They don't. So, I mean, maybe Sark is the difference. Got to give him a little bit of time. He's only had 1 year. So let him get his systems implemented. But I love this pick. I love the under 8.5. And it's also, maybe this is a little bit of a pick with my heart because it's always fun watching or rooting for Texas to lose football games. So, what do you got in the Big 12?
Yeah, I've got one Big 12, and it's one you'll probably have to wait all season to figure out if it happens. But it's Kansas under 2.5. So and speaking of your Texas Longhorns pick there, it was last season's Kansas win at Texas that put them over the 2.5 last year. So, maybe they win, maybe they beat Texas again this year, and that blows up my under 2.5 here. But I think not. They really only have. I mean, basically, for Kansas to go to 3 wins, they have to beat Duke, and they have to win a game in the Big 12.
Which
I don't think they win a bit. I don't think they win a big game, a game in the Big 12. I think they're going over. I think they're back to over. They can. Oh, they looked good. Oh, they took a terrible TCU team to the last minute. Okay, no, who cares?
There actually has been like a weird amount of hype around the Kansas football team.
I can't listen to it. I think it's nonsense.
I was surprised to see it at 2.5. I was more expecting 1.5, but I think it might be because of that hype, bro. The odds makers are trying to take advantage.
Yeah,
of it.
and they have brought in some talent. I think that the Daniels guy at quarterback has been better than they've had in a while. Their running back Devin Neal is really good, and they brought in. And so they've got Devin Neal, but they brought in a whole bunch of other transfers to play running back. And okay, so you're going to have a committee of pretty good guys. I don't think they're winning a game in the Big 12. Even if they do,
realistically, they're probably not.
They got to win their FCS game, and they've got to beat Duke, and they have to win a Big 12 game or at Houston.
I don't see that one happening for sure. Yeah, and I mean, hey, with Kansas, you never know. Those FCS games can be a toss-up sometimes.
Yep.
Like South Dakota. I mean, hey, come on. You never know. Alrighty, though, my last Big 12 pick is certainly a bit of a homer pick, but I'm going TCU over 6.5. We've talked about it a little bit, how we would like to think that we're going to make a bowl game this year. And I think that's the sweet spot. I've said it before. I think 7-5, 8-4 is a very realistic goal for us this year. To kind of get our feet underneath us with Sonny Dykes, kind of get this new system rolling. And I think 6.5 is a very achievable number. 7 wins for sure. Because even last year, 5-7, we were probably 4 or 5 plays away from 7-5 rather than 5-7 in a few of those games. So hopefully we can maybe make those better calls, turn things around, and win the closer games this year. So I like that a lot. And you got any other Power 5? Oh, I got one more too as well. What do you got in the SEC?
Let's see. Did I have an SEC? I'm looking at my list. I don't think I had an SEC.
I'll go ahead. I got my only SEC pick is Ole Miss over 7.5. I really like the Ole Miss look this year. Zach Evans, Jackson Dart coming in. They're a program trending in the right direction. And I was honestly surprised to see this number at 7.5. I would have expected 8.5 or 9, honestly. So I think Kiffin's got his boys rolling. They can win 8 games easily. Even in the SEC with that tough schedule, they got it.
Yeah, and they don't have a particularly difficult non-conference this season. I mean, their toughest game, I guess, is at Georgia Tech, which is an easy game. So they should roll. They should roll. Yeah, go ahead.
Troy, Central Arkansas, and Georgia Tech. So
yeah, and Tulsa. So they should roll 4 wins easy in non-conference. But then you gotta win, and then you get Vanderbilt. So there's 5 wins. Do you win 3 more games in the SEC? It's tough. Everybody thinks Kentucky's up. Everybody thinks.
I think they beat Kentucky at home, though.
I think they should beat Kentucky. They should beat Mississippi State. Yeah,
they should beat Auburn too.
They should be able to take this easy, but things get weird in the SEC.
Yeah, exactly. SEC is a different beast, so you never know. What do you got in?
A couple more from me. So I already kind of talked about the Wisconsin over. I've got them over 8.5. I think their schedule's too easy, and they're going to be a lot better than most of the competition. Another similar to your Texas pick, another hype train that I'm just not buying is the NC State. I'm taking them under the 8.5. There's been a ton of buzz about Devin Leary being maybe a first round NFL draft pick,
Yeah,
and
his Heisman odds are kind of
it's
a little up
it's
there.
gotten out of control, and I kind of feel bad because I don't have anything against NC State. I think they're fun to root for when they take down Clemson. It's always
That's always,
exciting,
yeah.
stuff like that, and they've had some really great NFL talent, but losing, what is it, Ikem Ekwonu, the
Big
offensive
lineman.
tackle,
Yeah.
in the first round, and I don't know. I think I'm not seeing it. They lost one of their top receivers. They lost a bunch of their running backs. We'll see. But I think the hype's just gone too far, and it's just kind of a principle thing of I don't think NC State can win 9 games.
They've honestly been kind of similar to UNC in that sense of like they've been pretty hyped lately for some odd reason, haven't always lived up to it. And I think part of the reason NC State has gotten that hype is, like you said, because they've had those random close games with Clemson where you're like, oh my God, is NC State really going to do it? So yeah, I like that one as well. And then going out of the Power Five, I have again sticking with my conference champion pick, Marshall over 7, which is big because I love that even number of 7. I would be very surprised if Marshall only goes 6-6. They've had at least 7 wins in 8 of the last 9 seasons, and in that one season they had 6. So very close. History repeats itself. I like that. I like those odds.
Yeah, I guess I was really focused on the ACC looking at these. So I had 2 more ACC picks. I went Virginia Tech over 6.5 and Georgia Tech under 3.5. I think on the Virginia Tech side, you bring in Marshall's former quarterback to lead you, and it's one of those where the coaching staff got stale and they made a change and things could be better. And I think they have a pretty manageable schedule. Then Georgia Tech under, I just think that's a terrible team. And their only player with really any skill is now on Alabama. So Jahmyr Gibbs is now the running back at Alabama. So I don't.
Who's a stud too?
They're not winning 4 games.
Yeah,
so,
see, I hope my brother listens to this episode because my brother's a Georgia Tech grad. So I saw that those odds, and I was like, I kind of want to throw him in there just because. But if I was going to throw him in there, it's got to be the under. Yeah, it's got to be the under because they just like Jeff Collins. Whenever he got there, it was huge because Paul, blank on his last name, Paul.
Oh my goodness!
They always chanted Paul's got balls because he would go for 4th down every time. Like that's what I remember him as. And he would run the triple option, everything. Jeff Collins was supposed to come in, revitalize everything, establish a new culture, yada, yada, yada. But they just don't win games. Like, it may be a fun place to play right now, maybe a fun time to be recruited by him, but it doesn't matter if you're going 3-9, 2-10 every year. So, yeah.
Oh, man. I'm looking at their schedule, and I know we're spending way too much time on Georgia Tech, but their schedule is a nightmare. I mean, they start with Clemson, and then they get their FCS game. But then after that, they have Ole Miss, UCF. Yeah, I mean, their out of conference games are Ole Miss, UCF, and Georgia. Like,
they always play Georgia. Yeah,
yeah, but that's why did you add Ole Miss and UCF to that schedule? You're just getting and they're not winning any ACC games either. I mean, maybe they get Duke and they get their Western Carolina.
Duke. Yeah.
So I think 2 wins is the ceiling. 4 wins is like an absolute phenomenal season.
Yeah.
To go over, it's not going to happen.
No, I totally agree. I would not want to put any money behind the Yellow Jackets with the way their program has been looking. All righty, though. I think that is –
that's all for me, yeah.
Yeah, I have one last pick, and that is SMU under 7. And I know this may seem like a slight homer pick, but last year I went heavy on their over for the win total. But, this year they've lost everything. They've lost their entire coaching staff, lost a bunch of dudes to transfer portal. it's going to be a whole fresh start for SMU, and I see them kind of reverting back to their like 3-9, 4-8 self maybe for a couple years before they can get their feet underneath them. But I just don't see them having a similar season again this year without Dykes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be tough. If they do bring back, I guess it'll be interesting to see if Preston Stone or Tanner Mordecai becomes a quarterback. I don't know. That's a pretty interesting QB battle, but they bring in the 5-star running back Kamar Wheaton from Alabama.
Yeah,
and kind of trade out
that,
Ulysses Bentley. I don't know necessarily if that's an upgrade for them. Kamar Wheaton didn't really do anything in his freshman year, and Ulysses Bentley was really impressive and productive. So I don't know that that's an upgrade, but at least that's not like a total absence that where Bentley leaves a huge hole there by leaving. So I think they'll be okay. And we'll obviously be talking about them a lot more as that game comes up against the Frogs. But yeah, I think under's probably you're probably okay there.
Yeah, I just like that 7 number as well. I would have liked it to have been at 8, but I still overall, I would be surprised though if they made a bowl game, just go 6-6, even year.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and that is it for the over/under win totals. So next up, we got a player award, and it's kind of with college football, it is really tough to pick like the Maxwell Award, the Bolitnikoff winner, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just going to stick with the granddaddy, and that's the Heisman winner. So starting off, I mean, I only have one pick for this really, and kind of one just for funsies, but my pick is going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I think his odds at plus 2,500 have a lot of value considering CJ Stroud is such a heavy favorite at plus 225. I'm hoping that maybe we've seen a shift in the stigma of only quarterbacks and running backs can win this award, with Devontae Smith winning it not too long ago. So, and I really think Njigba is that type of player who can just put up ridiculous numbers week in, week out, especially in that offense. I mean, he's going to be their go-to guy every time. They're going to be – CJ Stroud's probably going to be averaging like 300 to 400 yards a game. And a lot of them are going to be to Njigba, so I like those odds a lot more. And I would have liked CJ Stroud because I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. But he's only a plus 225. He's like the heavy favorite to win it this year. And that's not enough juice for me. I need a little bit more juice.
Yeah, I mean, I think those two are going to explode. I mean, they're going to put up so many yards, so many points.
Yeah.
They'll definitely be in the conversation. It's really tough to see a vision where JSN goes bonkers, but Stroud doesn't surpass him in Heisman voting.
See, yeah, I agree.
It's really, I mean, it's really a tough thing to see. I mean, does Stroud get hurt and one of those, Devin Brown or McCord or somebody come in and win a few games and focus on JSN and that's what gets it? I don't know. I just think it's going to be really hard to see him going off without Stroud also going off.
See, and I agree though. Like that's why I do think Stroud is the favorite for a reason. It's just, again, that's just not enough juice for me. I'm just hoping because Mac Jones was a finalist too, right?
Yeah, did they? Yeah, I think they both were on.
Yeah, like they both went to New York. I'm pretty sure. So hopefully we get another one of those, for this pick at least. But what do you got?
Yeah, I guess just on the Heisman winner for betting. This is not really who we think's going to win. It's about like, where is their value? Because the people who you think are going to win, it's kind of like picking a golf tournament or something. Like there's just so many people that, picking Tiger Woods in whatever, 2002, you're getting him at like terrible odds, even though you think he's going to win. Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those kind of things where you're kind of feeling around in the dark, hoping to find something, trying to envision a way that the season could go where someone with bigger odds can end up winning. So that's where my mind went. And my first shot at that was going with a pair of SEC quarterbacks with plus 4,000 odds in Hendon Hooker from Tennessee and Anthony Richardson from Florida. So my theory there is, can I see a world where somehow Tennessee or Florida end up 10-2? Maybe they get past Georgia and get in the SEC title game. Maybe they don't. But in any case, they have a really good season, and those guys put up Lamar Jackson, RG3 type numbers, and kind of blow everyone else off the map. I think there's a world where that happens, and it's probably a better than plus 4,000 world. Um, it's totally in the realm of possibility. As crazy as it may seem to think that Tennessee or this version of Florida takes over things in the SEC, it's not impossible, I don't think.
Yeah, I really like the Anthony Richardson pick because, and that was the main reason I kind of shied away from it because, like you said, you're not picking the guy that you think is for sure going to win it because obviously C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young have the best odds of anybody to win it. But I like the value on this a lot because Richardson is a phenomenal athlete. It's just, and he likely will put up some crazy stats if he's healthy all season. But the thing is Florida gonna win a lot of games? Like Louisville with Lamar Jackson, that was a very rare occurrence. Usually it's always on one of the top teams going into the playoffs or in contention at least. So like that was why I was a little bit nervous. It's just because I would love to see that happen. I would love to see Florida kind of have one of those years, surprise Georgia maybe, but I don't know. That's tough. That is tough.
Yeah, my next level of even less likely, but if you're in that theory of somebody who can put up crazy stats, and if they end up having a stellar season, maybe it works out, is Phil Jerkovic at Boston College at plus 8,000 and Malik Cunningham at Louisville at plus 6,000. Just playing in the ACC, they're going to be playing some terrible defenses.
Yeah.
And being able to Cunningham especially puts up those video game numbers where he'll run for 200 yards, throw for 500 yards with 7 touchdowns or whatever. So yeah, you can again. Is it a possible world where the stars align and those kind of guys put up the numbers and they have a good enough season that maybe Stroud and Bryce Young get hurt or kind of don't put up their crazy numbers and or their teams lose some games, which probably won't happen, but
yeah,
it's possible. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. I like the Cunningham pick too. You're right about video game numbers and that style and everything. But also with the Heisman picks and everything, it's always interesting because last year guys like JT Daniels and DJU, they were in the top 5. Like they were pretty heavily favored. Like JT Daniels was I think a 10-1 odds, not too shabby for the Heisman, and then they fell like drastically, and those guys that were like plus 6,000 at the beginning of the season were all of a sudden in the race. Like, and I mean, obviously Bryce Young won it, but there's definitely a chance for a lot of these things to slide around over the course of the season. And my funsies pick is not really a pick, but I just wanted to mention it. Zach Evans is currently listed at a 15-1 plus 1,500 or no plus 15,000. Sorry, odds to win the Heisman. And it's a little interesting. I do expect him to have a hell of a season at Ole Miss. I expect him to get all of the touches that he deserves. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, let's say all of the touches that he wants. If he wants to be on the field getting the ball, he'll get it. I mean, like I said, Ulysses Bentley transferred there, and they had some other guys there too. So I mean, I think he may like to hang out in on the sideline a little bit. He'll get his numbers, he'll get his touches, but he's got his eyes on the big leagues, and he's happy to watch it go by if that's how it goes, I think. So
yeah,
we'll see.
You're right. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I also did kind of just blank on the Ulysses being there as well. That'll definitely change things. But all right. Last but not least, gone through the conference champions, gone through our season win total predictions and our Heisman. Last but not least is the playoff bets. So these are either who we think are going to reach the playoffs or win the national championship. One of the two. So I'll start it out with my national championship pick. It's not much of, not juicy odds whatsoever. This is more of kind of exactly what I think is going to happen, regardless of the odds, is I think Ohio State's going to win it all this year. And I got Ohio State plus 300. I like the fact that they're at least plus money, whereas Bama is honestly like plus 120, I think, to win the national championship. That's just ridiculous odds. To win the national championship plus 120, it's ridiculous. So give me Ohio State.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's an appropriate way to go. I mean, with this playoff, there's only like maybe 10 teams or so that can even really realistically make the playoffs or even worth your time. And if you get one of the top 2 or 3 at plus 300, I think you're feeling pretty confident about that for most of the season. Yeah, I mean, I think the obviously the appropriate bet here is to take TCU at plus 25,000. So, we're taking the Natty back to Fort Worth. This was happening.
This is the year, baby. It's 1938 all over again. Let's do it.
Feeling like 1938. That's right. So my actual pick is Clemson at plus 1,000 to win it all. So like I said, you want one of those teams that's going to, you can feel with a pretty high level of confidence is going to be in the mix at the end. Mm-hmm. And I think Clemson is going to be really good this year. And yeah, whether it's DJU or Klubnik or whatever, they're just much better than everyone else for the most part on the schedule. They might have a toss up with Notre Dame or Miami, but either way, a one-loss Clemson that wins the ACC,
they're getting in.
Yeah. Is going to be in the playoff. And at that point, could they take down Ohio State, Georgia, or Alabama?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a tough task to beat two of those teams, right? To beat 2 of those teams, I think that's a really tough task. But you got to kind of hope there's chaos elsewhere. But at plus 1,000 for Clemson, yeah, give me that money.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mentioned earlier that their conference odds last year were minus 750. I think their championship odds were something ridiculous,
like probably Alabama's. Like plus 200, plus 2. Yeah, I mean, probably something very low. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have one kind of value play. I do like the Clemson though, actually at plus 1,000. That's pretty decent odds. And this is definitely a dart throw, kind of a long shot, but I am a little bit hype on the Rebels of Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin at the helm.
You are on the Lane train.
I am on the Lane train. Give me Ole Miss at plus 10,000. That's my value play. I don't really see it happening, but of the teams in that odds range, they kind of stood out to me. So I'll go with the Rebels.
Yeah, and then my playoff pick that I don't think has any chance to actually win the championship, because I don't see any way they win 2 games if they reach a playoff. But my pick to just reach the playoff is Oregon. So like I said, I think Oregon has a pretty strong chance to come out of the Pac-12. And if they win the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 is slightly better than it has been, maybe USC is a little bit better, maybe Utah is still good, maybe Washington is better than they were last year. That's impressive enough. Plus they play Georgia to open the season. Could they win that game? It's possible, not likely, but they're, even if they lose that game, that's not going to hurt them in any kind of playoff discussion, really. So I think again, we're looking at numbers that are big enough that it's worth your time to wait all season to see if it happens. And with a somewhat likely, some possibility greater than, some very small percentage. So I think they have a pretty solid percentage of making the playoff. And I can see a world where the season plays out where they win the Pac-12 and they have 1 or 2 losses, including that Georgia loss that kind of nobody even cares that it happened, week 1.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised to see them at plus 1,200. At first, I thought you were going to say to win the championship, but that's just to make the playoffs. That's actually pretty decent odds, because I think Utah was somewhere around Utah was even a heavier favorite to make the playoffs. They were like plus 900, I think, something like that. I don't know, but you're right though. Like you mentioned earlier, how only a few teams even have a possible chance of making the playoffs because of the way this system works. Like DraftKings odds, they literally only offered you I think it was 15 teams of whether or not they're going to make the playoffs. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess nobody else has a shot. So, but yeah, I have a couple playoff bets rather than national championship bets. And I actually like this one. Scrap my Oklahoma Big 12 pick and just take Oklahoma to reach the playoffs. I mean, it's plus 450, a little bit more juice, double the juice actually. And if Oklahoma wins the Big, like I don't see Oklahoma winning the Big 12 without going to the playoffs. Like I don't see the Big 12 champion being 10-3. So I like those odds a lot for Oklahoma to reach the playoffs, and also Georgia to miss the playoffs. I'm gonna ride with Bama.
Ooh.
I know. Ooh, this one's gonna be a little bit of a sweat, but I thought the odds were decent considering. So I like Georgia to miss it, and I think Alabama gets that spot. I will be very sad if it's Alabama and Georgia in the playoffs again, and that would just be brutal. So
I think it's very likely to be.
It is. I know it is. It is. I don't want.
But yeah, you're rooting for me with this Oregon pick. That week 1, go ahead and let Oregon take down Georgia. They still will have to lose probably 2 more games for you to feel confident.
That exactly. Yeah, the committee is just gonna not even blink their way. Like, all right, and I think that is all of our picks. So, with that being said, we are already about an hour into it. So
yeah, we're an hour in. I think we'll probably we don't need to go into the details of what we are looking to see in fall camp. I just want to note that it's really exciting. Fall camp opens this week, starting. I guess when you hear this, you might hear this the first day of fall camp. I think it's Monday or Tuesday, but it's Tuesday. So it's a whole new world out here. So fans, media, you can go out to practice. You can take pictures and video for certain parts of the practice. Players will be there to speak after practice. You can request certain interviews. It's very different to the kind of shutdown, complete blackout of any information coming out of practice from the previous 20 years. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. Every Big 12 team will have their coaching staff there at practice taking video. I'm sure. I don't think it's that crazy. That, I mean, people, whatever film people want to see, that they'll be able to get their hands on from just what happens on the field in gameplay. So it's just kind of an exciting time for TCU to have this happening now, and full credit to Coach Dykes and the athletic department to making that happen and allowing, local media, national media, schmucks like us to be able to interact with them at a closer level and really see what's going on under the hood. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, it's awesome. They also do such a good job, like, not to go too far into it, but shout out just the athletic staff. They do such a good job with, communication and getting everything set up and putting these events together for the fans and everything. Like, I think it's really cool. You've already seen in just these short few months with Dykes on campus, he's establishing his kind of culture. He's establishing the way that he wants to run the program. You even see it with the silly social media videos where they after practice, they have the guys guessing which way a dog wears pants,
Yeah.
So just fun stuff like that. It's really good to get everybody involved, which, and I don't think that's necessarily something that's been lacking with TCU football, because the fans come out, Frog fans come out for football. But I think it's almost, we haven't necessarily bought in as a fan base, and that might be kind of big to say for the past few seasons. It seems like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. But
yeah, I think it's good to, it feels more personal.
Yes, exactly.
And less like like an NFL franchise or like something way off in the distance. I mean, this is, for a lot of fans, it's right here in our neighborhoods. And I think in the past it was a lot of like, it's the name on the back of the jersey, it's a number, it's, they're wearing the purple, but you don't know the face, you don't know their voice, you don't know anything that any of these, really impressive college athletes have to say. And so it's going to be exciting to be able to really get to know these guys on a more personal level of like, giving us their real selves and not just what it looks like behind the helmet.
Yeah, exactly. So I also think just that open structure of, letting people watch the practices, I think that shows a level of confidence as well. Like Sonny's confident in the system he's got going. He's confident in the way he's doing things. And if he wasn't, he wouldn't want people to know what's going on. Like he wouldn't want anything to get out to other teams. He wouldn't want, this clip of this trick play to surface to other Big 12 coaches and whatnot. He's got it under control. Like I think he's doing a fine job so far. I'm loving what I'm seeing, every aspect so far of just camaraderie, the direction of the program, everything like that. So I am sad that I won't be able to make it out in person, though, to any of the practices or anything. But I'm going to try my darndest to be there, in person for at least 1 or 2 games this year. Fly down there. But, yeah, we'll see. Definitely we'll still be covering from this room in Phoenix. I'll just be here on my computer. But all righty, and I think that's really it. Unless we can kind of break down, I think next week a bit more of maybe initial storylines,
we'll probably start getting some information out of camp. So they'll probably it's going to start happening fast and furious here as we get close to the football season. We'll have a lot of more preview stuff specific to TCU and hopefully everyone here enjoyed us kind of going through our national thoughts and looks at these futures and how we kind of think that season might go on a national level. And we'll really dig into the TCU stuff as TCU practice starts happening and we start getting a lot more information about how this is going to look in the new regime.
Yeah. I always love talking Frogs, but it is nice to step back a little bit.
We love college football too, outside of the Frogs. We love it all. We're
sports junkies. What can we say? But yeah, so I think next week, definitely get into that. We're going to have our, positional previews coming soon. Going to be having our schedule previews coming, like opponent previews, all that. You guys can look forward to it. About to start pumping out this football content real soon as we get closer to kickoff. So yeah, that's going to be it for this week. Appreciate you guys staying on and listening, and we'll be back next week, back on normal schedule. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs. Thanks, y'all.